We've recently produced a series on these bikes for our YouTube channel, and in the videos I reference their bi-directional quickshifters as one of my major dislikes. But since having produced the video and having even more time on the bike, I actually think I've worked out how the quickshifter likes to be used, and maybe it's not as bad as I first thought it was. So in the interest of setting the record straight, I'm going to go back on myself and explain to you how I think the thing likes to be used. So yeah, the GSX-8T and 8TT we've had on loan from Suzuki come with a bi-directional quickshifter, which means that it should be good for up and down shifts without using the clutch in certain situations. The quickshifter can be turned off in the menu system on these bikes if you don't want to use it, but there's really no need to turn it off because it doesn't make that much difference to how the bike changes, so may as well leave it on for when you want it. Maybe it's a little more direct and traditional without the quickshifter on, but I couldn't really tell. My previous experience with using it was that it was great for upshifts on the way up the gearbox, whenever, and needed the clutch on the way down at all times because it was harsh and actually required force to get it to change down the box. So much so that I felt like it was crunching down the gears and doing damage to the gearbox. By the way, I shot this on the Insta360 so you can keep an eye on the clutch and gear shifter, and you can then see when I'm using the clutch or not. So yeah, quickshifter is great for the way up, but here's how I think it likes to be used when you're changing down. The obvious way to use the quickshifter is just to change down when you need to. And this does work for when you're riding fast and reducing your speed quick and changing down, and you can sort of match the change to where the engine speed is at. But when you're not riding fast and just trying to ride at a normal pace, this is when it can feel harsh to change down and like you're crashing and crunching the gears. So yeah, what I've found is that the system does require a bit of finessing on the way down to make it feel right. And I think down changes can be much smoother if you change down just as you're coming off the gas, then there's less load on the gearbox, but as soon as you've changed gears, bring the revs back up to compensate. I just fast forward a little bit, had to come out for a ride actually, because I was watching the video through and just checking and listening and probably over analysing what I was saying about matching the revs with a quick shifter and the throttle on the way down, and I just had to make sure that that is what I meant, and it is. But you can also crash it on the way down without matching the revs, and yeah, it's not the super smooth way to do it. But if you're sort of trying to ride really smooth and ride sympathetically on the quickshifter, I think that's the way to go to match the revs. Anyway, on with the video. Still, sometimes the quickshifter will be a little harsh on the way down, but I just try to ride around it a little bit and try and not use it when I think it's going to react like that. Also, if you do go down the gearbox too quickly, this is where the slipper clutch will kick in and stop the back wheel from skidding, which is a really cool safety feature on these bikes. Just watching the footage back, yeah, I'd love to be somewhere where I could just really open this bike up. Also, although I'm trying to show you that I'm not using the clutch, my hand sometimes moves to cover it by default. Old habits die hard. Not really revving the engine in these shots too, mainly just changing at the end of the torque curve in the mid-range. You've also probably noticed that I'm fairly active on the pegs too. The 8T and the 8TT have loads of room to move around on, and there's not much that gets in your way down there. Actually, there's nothing that gets in your way down there. Also, I found that you need to change at different points compared to if you're using the clutch and flipping the throttle on the way down the gearbox. Might be a bit of a paradigm shift for some of us, but it's nice to learn something new again sometimes. Hey, Grandad. So yeah, of course you're still using the clutch for slower speed work where you need to be smooth and controlled, but when the roads open up, that's when you should be reaching for the quick shifter. Another scenario might be where you come down the gearbox but can't match the revs. Maybe if you're riding more calmly or something and you just want to come down smoothly. Here I've noticed I don't rev the engine when I come off the gas. I just wait for the revs to come down a touch more and then change. I suppose there's a heap of scenarios to cover, but this is just a few, and the main thing is don't write the quick shifter off like I did on these bikes if you can't get it working how you want it immediately, and it is worth experimenting with it until you work out how you like to use it. And I do appreciate that my experience might come across as though it's just a small observation on how the quick shifter works, but in my mind this is a big distinction because I went from never using it to using it more than half the time when I was on the bike. Microphone is on the back of the seat, so the whirring you're hearing when the bike's slowing down is just the rear brake. It's not really that loud. The bike is just so quiet that it makes that brake sound loud. So my technique with this bike now is to use the quick shifter when the conditions are right to use it. Just reviewing the footage back now, it seems like when I was slowing down quickly through the gears, I was using the clutch then, again for smoothness. Also, don't just do what I say works, please. See what works for you and your riding style, because everyone's different. This is just my 2 cents. Yeah, just in summary, using the quick shifter on these Suzukis does require a bit of work and growing into, but I suppose it's a nice feature to have on the bike that changes its personality a bit, because the rest of the bike is actually so easy to ride. If you're into these bikes, both Lana and I have done a couple of videos each on them over on our channel. I'll leave a link to them in the video's description. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. That's it. Thanks for watching.